Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world right now. Welcome to this Friday's sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I've been a practitioner and teacher of self-help JIN SHIN JYUTSU for some 30 years, I think. I first learned JIN SHIN JYUTSU back in 1989. JIN SHIN JYUTSU, for anyone who's completely new, is an art of harmonizing life energy, sometimes called chi, ki, or prana, depending on what cultural background you have, as it moves through energy pathways in the body. And due to our thoughts, words, and deeds, this energy can get into disharmony, get out of whack. And JIN SHIN JYUTSU is a very simple but powerful way of realigning, reharmonizing, and putting that energy back into the channels. And it was brought to the West by a Japanese American by the name of Mary Eno Burmeister back in the 70s in Burbank, California. She had learned from Master Jiro Murai, Sensei Murai, in Japan during the war years, the Second World War years. And she began to teach and practice JIN SHIN JYUTSU after 17 years of study. And this is no mean feat. And often people will say that JIN SHIN JYUTSU is a lifetime's journey. It may actually be a many lifetimes journey. So going back to the practical aspects of it, we have what we call 26 safety energy locks, left and right of our center, our spine, 3 in the arms. These safety energy locks, they're the width or diameter of the palm of your hand, not mine. And when we place our hands, palms, back of hands, thumbs, fingertips on these energy locks, we allow them to control the movement of chi, ki, or prana more harmoniously through our bodies. They each have particular qualities. We won't go into them now. But once you study JIN SHIN JYUTSU, you can see some remarkable associations with both philosophy, psychology, and general consciousness expansion. And once you begin the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, you become the artist yourself, because you learn that by placing your hands, you get to feel the different energy pulses in these energy locks. You get to learn their patterns and textures. So without further ado, today is one of our many recently mystery presenter Fridays. And we do have a mystery presenter, although it looks as though she may have to go out and come back in. That's what it looks like. Oh, well, this is interesting. Sometimes this happens, folks. Sometimes, I don't know why, probably due to the energy, the signal. It could be the internet signal. It could be the wireless. It could be many things. We can affect our environment, and the environment can affect us. And when we're all gathered together, many of us in a group, we align and we magnify that energy, okay? There was a term coined back in the late 70s called the Maharishi effect, and this was an understanding of how the consciousness in a group expands when many people all meditate together, where you can apply that theory and practice to just about anything related to humanity, to any object, because in this understanding, we're talking about the quantum field physics, where everything is either a wave or a form of energy. And when you look at it, it changes according to your level of consciousness, to your level of perception. I'm sure some of you have come across that theory, and perhaps others are confused by it. It doesn't matter. The interesting thing is, does it make sense for you? If not, do you want to let it go or explore it and see if it begins to make some sense to you? Anyway, with Jin Shin Jyutsu, as we grow on our journey of allowing energy to congruently move through our pathways, our energy field can expand. And as it expands at different levels: the soul, the mind, and the body. And in Jin Shin Jyutsu, we subdivide the areas of our body into those three segments. And the soul would be the bust line level, the mind would be the waistline level, and the body would be the hip line level. And as you begin to explore Jin Shin Jyutsu, you learn the different patterns where you place your hands, whether it's on the hip, the waistline, or the bust line, and different safety energy locks which have their being in those areas, can affect those different qualities, which the soul level, that's your spirit, and in fact the message that you bring. Some people don't fully recognize that our souls are in fact messengers to us, and some describe them as golden light beings who are in fact silhouettes of us. And I can say, and some of you know this through my own personal experience of having left my body in a car accident and returned, that for me was true. Here I was with no physical matter, but I looked just like I look, well, not exactly like I look right now, but it was me, and I recognized that. But the thing was, I was totally free because I didn't have any boundaries. And I was aware that in that freedom was a tremendous amount of possibility for me to connect to and relay information, if I so chose. But at that point, I didn't, because I was shooting through the energy field of, well, some galaxy, some universe, so fast. I was amazed that I could even recollect that I had consciousness. It was an interesting experience. But at that level, things are a lot more refined. And it's at that level, I believe, where we can choose to send positive qualities and messages to our soul's environment, which is our home, the body, and then beyond that to other people. So those of you that meditate with your fingers with Jin Shin Jyutsu, which you can do, may have experienced those sometimes described as transcendent moments beyond conscious thinking. So it's a transcendental level. It's where the soul has its home. And then as we move at that level, the body-mind can respond. And the one thing that to me makes Jin Shin Jyutsu one of the most powerful forms of energy balancing, energy harmonizing, if you like, is the connection with the heart. And it's sometimes described as an art of compassion. Jiro Morai, the teacher I mentioned earlier, played around with various terms: art of happiness, art of longevity, etc., etc. But ultimately, he settled for Jin Shin Jyutsu, the art of being through a compassionate human. Okay. So I'm looking around to see who we have here today, and I'm really hoping by now that we have, no, we don't. Oh, yes, we do.
Yes, we
do. The energy has harmonized. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you today's mystery presenter. And it's Kathy Dunderdale from Houston. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, welcome. So Kathy has graciously agreed to join us, and I'm more than happy. I've known Kathy for a few years. We go back a while, and Kathy comes from Houston, Texas, and I know she has a lot of wisdom to share. So I'm going to disappear. Well, not completely, but I'm going to allow her to take the stage completely. There you go.
Thank you. Hi, everybody, and thank you for showing up today, and thank you for the people that will show up at the recording. I'm Kathy Dunderdale, and I'm a JIN SHIN JYUTSU practitioner and self-help teacher. And I've been in practice with JIN SHIN JYUTSU for 23 years now. I began my studies in the UK, and then I lived in Singapore, and I was in Singapore for 12 years. And I had a buoyant practice in Singapore. And it was a big community of people learning JIN SHIN. So it was really a lot of fun. And then I moved to Houston about 7 years ago, and I began my practice in Houston about 6 years ago. And but this was the second time. This is the second time I lived in Houston. Back in the early 2000s, I was an organizer here with, maybe some of you know, Carolyn Conley here in Houston, and we began resurrecting JIN SHIN JYUTSU here in Houston. JIN SHIN JYUTSU is pretty big in Texas, but it was never really huge in Houston, which is very odd to me because it is a community of medical practitioners. There's a lot of cancer care here in Houston, but I am here, and that is for sure. So how was I called to do this work? And I can honestly tell you, I was called to do this work because I was living in Dubai at the time, and I was an expat for 32 years. So Dubai was one of the places I lived. And I just found out that my son was on the spectrum. I had 2 children under the age of 5. And we had a property in France, and my husband said, it's time for you to go and take care of selling the property. And I just found out my boy was on the spectrum. I was frantic. I couldn't speak French. I had to go to France, and I just found out my kid was autistic. And I was in the airport, just thumbing through the books, and lo and behold, I was attracted to a cover, and the cover looked like this. And it was called Practical JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And I like the word practical because that means there's something practical about it. And I pulled the book off the table, and I looked at it and went, ugh, because it had, you know, diagrams of bodies with dots on them. And I just went, forget it. You know, this isn't for me. Back on the table and walked away. Fell on the floor. I picked it up. I put it back on the table, walked away, and it fell on the floor again. I picked it up and opened it up, and I started to read. If you hold your thumb, you'll calm down. And it went on to say babies suck their thumb, and it harmonizes their stomach function and their spleen function. But if you hold your thumb, you'll calm down. And this it read like a story, and I went, oh, this is total rubbish. I'm from New York, you know, forget it. It's not practical enough for me. But something in me told me to buy this book, and I did. And I read it on the airplane, and I didn't remember anything because I was so focused on what I had to do. But when I got out at Charles de Gaulle, and I'm standing there waiting for my baggage, I was holding my thumb. I found myself, well, I'm going to prove this wrong. So I'm just going to hold my thumb. And I could physically feel my body just relax. And I thought, is that a lie or am I really relaxing? So this had me curious. I went and got my job done, went back to Dubai. And at that time I was learning about meditating and so on. And I asked all my cool friends that were into flower essences and crystals and blah, blah, blah. Had you ever heard of JIN SHIN JYUTSU? And they said no. And I went, oh, okay. So I put the book away and that was it. They hadn't heard about it, so it wasn't legitimate. And then one time, my son was 3, and you know, children love to get sick on the weekends when you can't do anything. So there was my sick kid. He was about 3 years old, and he woke me up in the middle of the night. And he had a raging fever. And I'd given him all the children's Tylenol I could give him. So back in those days, you could have this tape, this thermometer tape, and put it on the head. And I thought, that book's got something about fever. I'm going to prove that book wrong. So I grabbed the tape. He did have a pretty high fever. And from the hall light, I followed the directions and I went all the way through the flow. It took about 20 minutes. And when I could feel something shifting in him. I could feel the heat leave his body. And then I put the tape back on his head and his fever broke. And then I got scared and I thought, ooh, hoodoo voodoo. Oh, you know, I'm Christian. Woo, what's just happened? But I brought my son into the doctor the next day and the doctor said, well, he's really sick. He's got a double ear infection, but he's the wellest sick kid I've seen all day. And I thought, okay, there must be something in this. So then I wrote to the Scottsdale office and I said, please, how do I learn more about this? And they sent me the brochures that came out at that time. And I looked and there were classes offered everywhere where my family lived. Remember, I'm overseas and my husband's English. So they offered in England, offered in California, offered everywhere but Dubai. And I thought, okay, that's it. That's it. One day my husband came home and said, we're moving to England. And I went, England, I can take a class. So I literally there was something in me already that I knew that there was something that I needed to know. And I called up Editha Campbell. Some of you may know Editha. And we talked she's American. She was the organizer for the UK. And she said, Kathy, when you get to England, give me a call and we'll get it all sorted out. And so we did. And my first, I literally, she said, we'll get you here somehow. I had 2 little kids. I shoved them into my husband's arms and said, I'm going. And my first teacher was Muriel Carlton. And my second teacher was Wayne Hackett. And my third teacher was Philomena Dooley. So I was very fortunate to have my first introduction to the art of JIN SHIN by the senior teachers. And I remember sitting in Muriel's class, and I'm a school teacher from a long time ago, my past. And I sat right up in the front and I turned around and I saw a lady behind me. It was actually Carlise, if some of you know Carlise. And she had this beautiful notebook. It was about this thick and it was filled with color-coded tabs. And I said, oh, I'm Kathy. And how long have you been studying? And she just said, 16 years. And I went, oh. Suddenly I realized this is life. This is lifeline. It just made me realize, how could somebody study something for 16 years? Well, as I told you, I'm in my 23rd year of practice and study, and we have study groups, I take classes, and that brings me to my next point. So many of you probably have heard all this before, what I'm going to be talking about in my self-help, but I really think that if you are interested in learning JIN SHIN JYUTSU, you need to take classes. You do. It's complicatedly simple, as they say, and there are many avenues to take classes. You may not know, so I'll give you some of them, okay? So of course we have JIN SHIN JYUTSU, Spirit, Mind, and Body. If you want to jot that down, this is the old JIN SHIN Inc. And it's now a nonprofit organization, and they offer classes all the time online and now in person. So it's called JSJ, Spirit, Mind, Body. Just jot that down. Another avenue of study, I hope I'm not going too fast, is JIN SHIN Institute. And the Facebook page is called The Art of JIN SHIN. And that is organized and run by Alexis Brink out of New York City. And she also teaches JIN SHIN JYUTSU. She offers classes and online classes, and she's written textbooks, and you can study through the JIN SHIN Institute. Then there is the JIN SHIN Guild. Now, the JIN SHIN Guild is another nonprofit organization. It's an international organization formed by Wayne and Carlos, two of our old teachers, and they're still at it. And they have a wonderful Facebook page and also a website. It's called JIN SHIN Guild, and you can take classes through JIN SHIN Guild. And then there's also, some of you know, one of our teachers from JIN SHIN Inc. was Matthias Roth. And Matthias Roth, he has, you can find him, it's called Matthias JSJ. He's out of Germany, and he's also got a YouTube channel. And he teaches self-help and classes all the time. And I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to learn this art, but these are the people that I know, I trust, I take classes from them, and many other people have gone off and done it on their own, but I would definitely check this out if you would like to learn the way we learned, we practitioners. So I'm also the administrator for, it's called Sharing, the Facebook page, Sharing the Gentle Art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. Sharing the Gentle Art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And some of you might have known a lady called Malti Lawani. Malti Lawani began this page before she passed away. She was one of my clients, and she was a student of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. So I am running her page, and we have almost 2,000 international people that have joined this page. So it's a great way to ask your questions and learn. And I also put the classes out that I hear about that are coming up. So I just wanted to get that out of my mind. So let's see. I think something else I would encourage everybody to do before I start talking about my views on JIN SHIN is I really believe that all of you should get sessions. You should find somebody, even if you have to fly to them, get a hotel room and go and get sessions. Receiving sessions from a practitioner is really important for your body. It is different from self-help. It's an awakening. And I always suggest people start with 3 sessions, always 3 sessions. And as you receive your sessions, you'll see the beginning of the exhale in the body, the unwinding. Yeah, so I do suggest you do that. I think there's many ways to find practitioners, and if you don't know, you can always contact me. My company is called JSJ Acupressure Houston, and I have a Facebook page. So feel free to contact me. So now let me talk a little bit about my understanding of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And I'm going to refer to the words of Mary Brewmeister. And I'm going to start with this. She says, one who understands and sincerely respects the profound significance of JIN SHIN JYUTSU physiophilosophy should not be intimidated by the magnitude of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. It is not an application of technique. It is a demonstration of art, simply being the channel through which flow infinite aesthetic powers of the creator. Those are big words. So we're not doing a technique. When we do self-help, we're participating in our own touching the creator. I think Terry said this in many, many ways. But I want you to think about that, because when we go into let's do this and let's do that, it's really not about that. It's about facilitating. And it's facilitating the infinite aesthetic powers. That's why when people come and see me for sessions, I am humbled. I'm humbled to be participating in the facilitating of the energy from the creator in that person. What a gift. What a gift this is, people. So remember that. It's not arbitrary. It's not any old way of healing. It is our connection in the breath, and it's all in our hands. So I wanted to mention that because that's so important to me. The application of the jumper cable, Mary says, palm or fingertips is lightly applied over clothing. So we don't have to touch the skin, because this touching of the energy lock, wherever we're putting our hands, directed to put our hands, is filtering through. It's in the energetic space through the breath. I think that makes sense. So that's what I understand. So never apply too much pressure, rub, or massage. This art utilizes the power of life energy. Hands are like jumper cables, recharging rundown life battery. Tension is not eliminated through application of pressure, rubbing, or massaging in the art of JIN SHIN. Okay, so we're not doing anything, but we're putting our hands in the area. And the area of an energy lock, or vortex of energy, I call it, is the size of the palm of your hand. Everybody's got a different size. That's big. You know, like, I guess I'm gonna get it somewhere. It's big, and it's spherical, which means it goes from the front to the back, which means they bump into each other. You know, and acupuncture is, there's a point or a dot. I don't know how they get it right, but they do, the acupuncturists. But in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, we're getting it anyway. And when you utilize your hands and you're putting your hands on the energy locks, if you're listening and you're breathing, getting out of your head and just being, your fingers may start moving a little bit, just maybe a centimeter to the right or to the left. And that is what Philomena would call bullseyeing. It will eventually bullseye, and you'll get this pulsation that will rise up into your hands. Okay, and I've mentored with Lynn Pfluger, and she would say sometimes you coax it a little bit. It's not rubbing, it's just saying, hello, I'm here. And that's it. And then it comes up to you, and then you just breathe with it. So and I'm reading this again, when the receiver of the jumper cabling feels pressure being applied, it's because when the receiver feels that there's pressure being applied, but you know, and I'm speaking as a practitioner, when you're shoving in your hand a little bit, then you come off, because it's not about shoving or pulling or pushing, but it is about tense muscles. Because if there's any pain at all, it's because the body is tense. And I think of JIN SHIN JYUTSU when the energy lock starts releasing and moving, it's like the cork in a bottle. It slowly releases, 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 releases. And then maybe you hear nothing. And then all of a sudden, oh, there's a pulsation. And to me, it sounds like a crescendo. There's nothing, nothing, nothing. Then you hear the wave. And then it harmonizes out again. Okay. Now, and I think because all of JIN SHIN JYUTSU is quantitative, it's numerically perfectly balanced. So I think that's why we're given a guideline of holding a position for 3 to 5 minutes, because I think that gives the body time to recognize that it is actually allowed to open up. And I think also, like, when we touch and we move our hands around, we're signaling to the body it's okay to start moving the energy. It's built in, but JIN SHIN will tell us where to go if we study this. So, okay. So to me, the basis of JIN SHIN JYUTSU is all about the breath. And I don't know if some of you have seen these cards. They're old cards. They're so beautiful. And this card is from the JIN SHIN office. It says, resting in the breath, we return to ourselves. That's the essence of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, because it is, to me, and I guess to Mary, it is about the breath. And in fact, it is to Jeremiah, because Jeremiah said, first the breath, then the fingers, then the rest. So keep that in mind when you're doing your main central vertical, harmonizing energy flow. That you're listening. You're listening to your breathing. Your breathing is so important, but you're listening. You're not forcing anything, but you're aware. It's sort of a conscious awareness. And it's allowing your body to let go, to say, okay, I'm not up here anymore. I can let go. Because that's all that matters, the letting go. The inhale will come on its own. Okay, so to me, the basis of JIN SHIN JYUTSU is the breath. It facilitates, the JIN SHIN JYUTSU facilitates our breathing. And when we're breathing, it goes from surface to bone and bone back out to surface. And holding an energy lock or a safety energy lock, that's what is happening. The fingertips or the hand is activating and the spiraling begins. It's going from the surface down, down, down into the bone, and then back up, through, and out. And do you think that takes a second? Heck no, it takes a long time. This is a circulation, you know. That's why when people say, oh, I don't feel anything, maybe you can't feel anything. Maybe in 3 days you'll feel something, because that's how long it will take for the circulation to circulate on the highways of the body and all the way down through the organs and back out into the ether. So that's my thought on that. And the other thing about energy locks, where we put our hands to facilitate the movement of energy, is that they're either depleted or they're full. Okay, what JIN SHIN does is it balances. That's the harmony. Where's the harmony? It will come, that balance, and that's what, in the breath, if you're paying attention to your breath, that's what you're observing. You're observing that breathing. So when you're feeling around on your energy locks, you just happen to be up here on your 11, and you're going, oh yeah, man, my neck's so stiff. You know, is it hard? You know, what's the texture up there? it feels like maybe my back's a little bit sore because my 11's a little bit stiff. So the longer I hold it, it's allowing the energy to open up and receive so it can exhale itself out. That's my understanding. So that's why that 3 to 5 minute idea is for you to think about when you're holding these energy locks. Maybe you can't feel that it's full, but those of you that know where they are, like the 5 is down on the inside of the ankle. I have a client whose 5 is just, it's like a canyon. It's like that. That's depletion. And I have another client who's got up here in her 9s, 10s, that lymphatic area is just always full. And as soon as I put my hand, it starts gurgling. Gurgling, as my friend Palma would say, music to a JIN SHIN JYUTSU practitioner's ears, the gurgle, because the gurgle is facilitating the physical energy through the stomach and moving things out. Okay, so when you hear a gurgle, that's a good thing. So first the breath, then the fingers, then the rest. So I think what he means is observing the breath, Jeremiah. I think he's thinking about observing the breath. So I have notes all over the place. So going to my JIN SHIN JYUTSU self-help book 1, which is massively filled with notes from the many years I've studied with it. I'm looking at the first project, and the first project is our attitudes. Now, Mary asks us, if you want to start, you start with the fingers, and everybody kind of knows this. And if you don't, we do, because the fingers are right here. We're holding our fingers all the time, whether you know it. You're picking things up. You're holding your fingers all the time. But consciously holding your fingers is what I want you to think about, because she asks us to clear our fingers to begin, because that's that kind of gets rid of the cobwebs a bit. So I invite you to do that. Let's hold a thumb. All right, so we'll start with the thumb. All right, and just relax into that. Now, Mary talks about attitudes, but I think emotions would be a better word at this moment, when we're just casually holding our fingers, because a lot of times we're not in attitude, and when we're in attitude, it doesn't last long. So for example, I was worried about doing this, this presentation. I sit in the dark room and I do lots of JIN SHIN all the time with my clients, but talking to people about it, I don't do. So I was worrying, I have to admit, and to me, worry means chasing my tail. I'm going around and around and around in my head, and I'm never getting out of my head. So by holding my thumb, I'm already exhaling, and I'm enjoying that exhale. That's what I'd like you all to observe. Just, and I also think, go to the side you don't even think about. If you're grabbing a thumb on your left, good for you. If you grab it on your right, great. But holding the thumb can help so many things. It will help you feel more secure in your thoughts. It will help fatigue. It will help your breathing. Let's see. It integrates with the stomach and spleen function energy. And as some of you probably know, it releases energy lock 1, 9, 16, 19, and 21. So it does all of this without us even realizing it, just holding our thumb for a minute or two. And observe the vibration of the thumb. That's all. So moving on, we'll move on to our index finger, which I found myself holding when my computer decided to act up before I went on live. Yes, and I looked down and there I was holding my index finger. And that is when JIN SHIN JYUTSU is now know myself. It is integrated into little Kathleen Dunderdale's psyche. I automatically know to go to a finger, and then I just look down and observe and laugh. Because I'm erasing fear by holding this index finger. And obviously, I'm releasing my muscles. So that's good too. And I'm also opening up energy locks 5, 8, 10, 11, and 22. And I'm helping the function of my kidney and my bladder function energy. My waterworks. Helps digestion, elimination, elbow pain, rigidity, inflammation of the joints. Perfectionism, judging. I don't like this, I like that. That's just your old fear talking. So observe the pulsation, the gentle flowing of energy through your finger. And then we'll move on to the middle finger. Now, I'm doing the middle finger and I'm doing all these fingers. I'm pointing this out to you because this is the first, well, actually it's the second project, but it's a project, not a problem, that Mary has given to us to begin our self-help. Okay, Mary doesn't go into the main central vertical harmonizing energy, or the mediator, or the supervisor, or the spleen, or the stomach, or the bladder, or whatever else is in this book. She starts with the fingers. How powerful is that? I love the fingers. That's the self-help I give to most of my clients. They don't know how powerful it is, but I do. So the attitude of the middle finger is anger. So worry becomes fear, and then fear becomes anger. And why aren't people doing what I want them to do? It's because you're not relaxed. You're not in flow. Because ultimately, none of it matters. Sorry, Terry, I know you're giggling. So energy locks 3, 6, 12, 13, and 25 are activated and beginning the movement through these energy locks by holding the middle finger. It's helping my gallbladder function energy and my liver function energy. And those are big. It's also the middle finger, which to me represents the center of the body, the spine, leading up into the brain. Middle finger represents man. It's my digestion. How am I digesting what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing? How am I reacting? How am I observing life? Middle finger. Then we have the ring finger. Ring finger is all harmonizes sadness. So when worry and fear, and anger, and then we blow up and we cry. We just exhale and it's just, it'll affect the lung function energy, the large intestine, holding on, holding on, holding on. And when we hold our ring finger, we let go of some of that pent up holding on or sadness. Some people don't like to give up that sadness. They don't like to look forward. They like to look in the past. And that can lead to big problems in the body. So hold your ring finger so that you can let go of anything in the past, because my view is God gave us eyes in the front of our head and not in the back of our head. So we can look forward and be in the now. Okay, this is helping, again, the lung and large intestine function energy. So then we almost go full circle, because when we hold our baby finger, the attitude of the baby finger is trying to pretending everything is okay, but inside you're like, oh, I'm freaking out, I'm tense, I'm anxious. Holding that baby finger will help to calm your nerves, and it will open up energy locks 15, 18, 20, 23, and 24. And we're moving into summer. It has to do a little bit with the heat of the summer. It will harmonize our vascular system, our skeletal system, our circulatory system. It's a very, very important energy lock to hold. And the more I think about it, in the center of the palm is the sixth step. And how do you access the sixth step for the umbilicus and diaphragm function energy is by putting your hands together. And that's a beautiful way to exhale. And that will help your breathing. And yeah. And I think that she gave us this. Now we have another hand to do this on, and you can do that in your free time. I think that if we do that, remember to do that at this, when we first wake up, or do it sometime during the day, or at least hold a finger during the day, you're helping your body to let go of a emotion, which can lead to an attitude. And if those of you that don't have Self-Help Book 1, I do suggest that you go to the JSJ Inc. site and you can buy them. It's a beautifully written book. Mary also talks about when these when these emotions get deep, they become attitudes. And you know people that are always angry or always sad, or a bundle of nerves. And that's when we would facilitate, there's a certain sequence for the fingers, which is in this book, which you can utilize. And that's when it becomes an attitude. Okay. So moving on, I'll go over this quickly. So after utilizing my fingers and freeing myself with that, listening to my breath, what do I do for myself? Well, every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do, really, even before I go to the bathroom, I lie in bed and my right hand goes to the top of my head and the left hand goes between my eyes. And I lie there. And I don't think about time, because I've just woken up. I make time. And I just lie here like this until my breath releases. And my breath will go like a belly breath. And then I go, yeah, I'm on my way. I know that the facilitation of the breath has begun. Now, the rest of the main central flow, I may not get to, but I know I've begun the facilitation of the breath when I first wake up. And I know I'm good. But there's various steps to the main central vertical flow, and it's our source of life flow, and it's something we should all learn and know. And if you don't, learn it because it's very good for you. But I may not have time to get all the way to the end. I do start with this. If I don't have time, I have my own project, which is in the heart and diaphragm area. So I'll sometimes take time and I'll go here. Sometimes I have digestive issues. And somebody asked, one of my clients asked me the other day, it's at the tip of the xiphoid process. It's where that soft tissue begins and the hard tissue ends. Yeah, then it starts to get squeeze in there. That's where your fingers should find its way. Okay, and then I do like to do, oops, I don't know if you can see this, at the tip of my pubic bone. So feel around for it. It's hard. Feel around for it and then hang on to it, because that's the seat of the physical body, and that's our seat, and we sit a lot. Energy getting all the way down to the toes takes time. So the physical body kind of needs to be opened up here. Okay, those are my thoughts, and that's what I do for myself. Of course, the mediator, holding the neck and where the neck and the shoulder meet, right here, where the neck and the shoulder meet, that's your 11. I often hold my 11, 15 in the groin with my fingers pointing down, because what am I doing? I'm moving the energy south because it needs to move south before it can go north. Okay, so I hold this for a while, and then I sit on my bottom on the same side. And then I do the other side. Right, 11, 15, 11, 25. And that is facilitating the inhale and the exhale of the supervisor energy. All those energy locks, you're opening them up on either side of the body. And that's very important, because if these highways aren't open, you know, you can go into the little flow for this, flow for that, or, you know, I did this and it didn't work. Well, maybe because we didn't open up the road. The main road has to be opened, or you won't get to the tributaries. So take a little bit of time. I'm doing 11, 15, 11, 25. That's pretty important. I try and do that every day. And then the mediator, I don't know if some of you can see this. I roll back. You take one foot and stick it on the inside of your knee, and you're holding the same side that you put your foot on the knee. Throw it onto your shoulder and make a circle like an A-OK on the ring fingernail and the thumb. And if that's too hard, just put your knees together and hold until your breath goes. And it will come, that inhale will come naturally on its own. Both sides of the body. Another thing that I love to do, because it really, really helps me, especially in the night, if I feel like I've got angina or digestion issues, I go here. I'm not awake, but my body automatically knows to open up the lung point up here, and just hold the high 19s and exhale. And wait. I think also that a lot of issues come from not letting go. Worry, fear, anger, sadness, that not letting go. Things were better yesterday. The world's moving too fast. Grumble, grumble, and I'm not letting go of the past. And it binds up those muscles. So a really great, which is in Self-Help Book 1 thing to do, oops, is put your hands under your knees. That goes right, it helps your bladder function, and you're holding your 8s is what you're doing. It's vital. It just opens everything up. Some people say, I never knew I could go so much. Well, guess what? The body was holding on. The body will harmonize. It's wonderful. Okay. Now, just a quick story. It's 55. Okay, so a quick story. One time I was in Singapore and I was driving a car and I was on the highway, and all of a sudden I couldn't see out of one eye. And I felt very odd. I thought, oh my God, what's going on? I pulled over the highway and I didn't know what was going on. But what I did do is I took my hands, I crossed them, and I put them between my knees like this. And I waited. And then my vision came back. But what was I doing? Automatically, I did this. I was moving the energy from my head down. So if you got problems up above, move the problems down by holding those ones. This is called the high ones. And then I went to my cardiologist and I almost had a stroke, but that's another story. But I didn't. And probably because I helped my body to move the energy down. So those high ones are dynamic. I've seen people choke and hold their high ones and it comes out. So this is really important. So holding the 8s under the knees, it's going to help the bladder function as we age. We all need that elimination, and holding the high ones, because the premise of Jin Shin Jyutsu, as above, so below. As in the front, look to the back. So what are you trying to do here? If you got something stuck in the middle, you want to pull it down. So think of flows that are descending, moving the energy down, right? If you can't catch your breath, well, maybe you need help by holding on your hips. And people do this naturally when they're walking or running, because it helps with the inhale. This is not rocket science. We do it naturally. But now you know these simple things, moving the energy down, moving the energy up, moving the energy around, listening to your breath, holding your fingers, helping your attitude so things go free and easy, can help your body. It's all circulation. Results are not immediate. Sometimes they take days, sometimes they take weeks. Sometimes you don't even know that you're having results because you do Jin Shin Jyutsu so long that, you're pretty much in the flow all the time. And my final thing to say is thank you for joining me. I hope I wasn't too long-winded. Hello to any of the people that I used to see and the places I used to work. And I love you all and I miss you all. I'd love to get my healing hands back on you. And thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
You're muted, Terry.
I just unmuted myself. It wouldn't unmute, it was like, Terry, we don't want to hear you. It wouldn't unmute. Thank you, Kathy. Now,
hey, I had no idea I talked so long.
I don't always plug in this kind of way, but I want to say there are so many pearls of wisdom in this presentation. If you're completely brand new to Jin Shin Jyutsu, a replay of this is potentially for you. There was a lot of insight there. I mean, a lot of analogies. I liked the corkscrew, safety energy locks. And clearly someone who has spent a lot of time connecting with the breath and has had, a lot of clientele and worked with them. And I would say, generally speaking, when someone does come to Jin Shin Jyutsu, certainly in my case, I thought it was a martial art. You suddenly think, can it be this simple? And I think that's where Kathy began. Can it be this simple? And then by experimentation, she became her own testimony, which is another word or phrase that Mary would use a lot.
And I can't even go into the amount of people that I've helped. I can't, and I won't, because that's private, but what a gift. What a gift.
Yeah. And, I had no idea you knew Editha Campbell.
Oh, yeah. And Brigida. I've been around.
I'm just curious quickly, when did you call Editha? Because, she lived in the same house as myself.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Editha introduced me to JIN SHIN JYUTSU.
Well, she introduced me to JIN SHIN JYUTSU too.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. All those years ago. Right.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Yeah,
We have another connection, Terry.
Sorry?
Another connection.
Yeah. And I didn't know that you were actually living in England for a while. You probably mentioned it.
Oh,
but,
a number of times.
Yeah, but the point really to embrace what Kathy has shared with you, definitely if you're a beginner, but even if you're more experienced, there was a lot of pearls there, a lot of gems, which Kathy brought forward. And, she utilized Mary's words from Self-Help Book 1. And actually, if you look in the chat, there's a link to actually order Self-Help Book 1. And, Mary said that's all you would actually need to harmonize yourself, or what was in Self-Help Book 1. And you did an amazing job of skipping through pretty much the meat of Self-Help Book 1. You covered the 4 sections really well. So I'm really grateful, Kathy, that you came on. Despite the computer playing up, we got you. And I really would love it if you continued your journey with us at some other point in the future. Now you've done it once, you can't say, oh, I don't want to. You've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, right?
Thanks, Terry.
So
Thank you.
the recording will be up. Sorry?
Okay, Gabriella said she has trouble starting exhalation. Gabriella, sometimes you have to push the breath out. I think Philomena told us that the 36 breaths and the counts of 9. I mean, start from 1 and go 2, 3. I mean, press it out, and then the body will start to receive the breath. So that's one thing, Gabriella, I think I would suggest to you is when I'm on the table, when someone's on the table and I'm listening with my hands and I can tell they're not breathing, I'll ask them, please exhale. And they go, no. I said, exhale. Because once we can exhale, then we can begin to inhale and receive that abundant breath. You've got to work on your exhales. Think about it going all the way to the toes and turning around. And then it will receive. It's breath work.
Perfect. Is there any more questions? No, basically everyone's saying it was an awesome job.
Oh, thank you.
So that's good to know. Kathy, did you write your email or anything in the chat room?
No, I didn't. I suppose I should. Hold on. So this is my website. Okay. And I have, same with my Facebook page. It's JSJ Acupressure Houston. Sharing, I'll put sharing gentle heart of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. Okay, that's the Facebook. Please join.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can contact Kathy if you need any help, advice, joining her Facebook page or whatever, or just to chat with her anyway.
Yeah, I'm available. There's so many practitioners on here, we're available. Contact us.
And, thank you for pointing out to everybody that there are many different channels to learn JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And I personally would love to connect with some of the teachers that I haven't for a long time. Kathy mentioned Carlise. Well, it just so happens I heard through the grapevine that Carlise might be happy to join us at some time, which is
Oh, I love Carlise. Let me know
yeah,
when, because I don't
yeah.
know.
I'm
Carlise is a
working.
wonderful teacher.
Thais, who was on last week, knows Carlise
Mhm.
very well, so we shall see. Matthias, I haven't connected with for a while, but I would love to. I'd love to see
Oh,
Matthias Roth.
he's doing marvelous work.
Yeah,
Marvelous work.
yeah. And then Wayne and Carlos, well, they've had the invitation, and Wayne has replied once, and he wants to know more, but so far we haven't had the connection to get something organized, but we will. So,
But they are teaching, you know, and Wayne's one
yeah,
of the senior teachers, and any of you that wants to take classes, they're offering classes. Yeah,
JIN SHIN
stuff.
JYUTSU.
Yeah.
Wayne specifically was part of the original 4, but actually became the 3 senior instructors as they were known. Very long-term experience there, great wisdom. Carlos, a little newer, but still has tremendous amount of wisdom. And so there you are. You've been given a menu today of possible connections, as well as great analogies and insights into connecting with the breath through the safety energy locks. So again, thank you, Kathy. Hopefully you will return at some point.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it'd be wonderful. So the replay will be up in 24 to 48 hours. You got the links in the email that I sent you. And we'll be here same time next week. And we have yet another mystery presenter. When it rains, my friends, it rains all this beautiful energy from around the world. And we have another mystery presenter. They keep coming, which is wonderful. And anybody who was here today who would like to present, don't forget, you got my email, just hit me an email and we can organize something. All right, enough from me. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of the day,
Bye-bye.
the weekend, the week, until next week. And thank you again, Kathy. Brilliant.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.